I joined my first MSP, my only MSP, Mobius Works, as the fifth employee. I actually made the connection because one of the founders was somebody who I was friends with in the BBS world when I was around 15. No, younger than that, probably middle school. I signed into his BBS and was chatting with him and then started my own BBS. So started at that MSP as a fifth person, and we went through quite a bit of growth. At our peak, we were 25 people. I was leading a division of the MSP where we were doing custom development, and that accounted for about half of our revenue. And then we ended up selling the MSP and focusing on the custom development work. But through that journey, we had also made partnership with ConnectWise and developed what is now the Mobius product as part of that partnership.
My journey started in tech probably when I was more like 8, and I was programming in BASIC. I would get a book at Radio Shack. Brian started building cardboard computers. He always seemed to know what he wanted to do, and he was programming calculators in class. I started with BASIC and was told, oh, you can't make a career of that.
What were you making?
Oh, a song called I Love Cats. It took like forever and it was wonderful. It was full color and sound and pictures. It was pixelated cats that I made, and that was hard. That was actually pretty difficult. And I did some sequels. My mom was cleaning in there and you had to save it in a particular way, and I ran to get milk and then that was gone forever and I cried for days, which was maybe near the end of me liking doing it because it was so upsetting when something disappeared forever. But at any rate, I did a lot of other things. Brian was always staying in that tech world, and I started a preschool program called Zippy's Place where I did marketing and got people into the program. And here I thought I was a mess up because people like Brian had a real clear path, and I seemed to be jumping all over the place. I was an office manager. I did HR at a company accidentally, but I kept learning.
Cold calling.
Oh, I did cold calling for vacuums, Kirby vacuum cleaners.
Oh, I was thinking of the.
Oh, Melaleuca. Yeah.
No, that wasn't the one I was thinking of either.
I even did the census. I was out doing the census and walking door to door. And I got to talk to a lot of different people, but some people didn't enjoy it so much. And I got over my fear of dogs. But yeah, so approaching people in different ways. But it's funny, at the time I thought that I was a mess up because I had gone to school for journalism and music. Who's going to do anything with journalism and music? And then I went back to school later, got my MBA, but I was always learning different things and learning as much as I could. And so that's where I circled back. I was doing well getting my MBA. This is at the same time that Brian's working at the MSP, and had organized a couple events for Obama's White House on interfaith diversity and was enjoying that. And yeah, met Brian. We started talking online, and then we decided to meet in person. And it was first day we had been talking a lot, but it was nerve-wracking. And then all of a sudden he started talking about which HR system that I was using for outsource, for billing or something. And then we shut down the place. We didn't even know. It was like 4 or 5 hours and everyone had left the restaurant. We didn't notice. And then the waitresses, we'd like to go home. So you're going to have to, but I'm glad the date's going well. That was it. We were just always giving each other business advice on situations while we were working at separate companies and trying to work through things together, but separately.
We had talked a lot about different struggles we were each having in our jobs, and how to navigate this problem and how to navigate that problem, and just helping each other.
Actually, some of our first dates were coaching other businesses, and one of our first dates was going to IT Nation. He asked if I'd go to IT Nation, and oh my goodness, I really loved the MSPs that I met there. I was thinking it was going to be like at a little convention center or a town hall, and then I walk into IT Nation. I just didn't even know what conventions were like. I had been to like the healthcare convention in Torrington.
What's that, like 50 people or something?
Yeah, it was like a few people with booths.
What's IT Nation, 5,000?
Yeah, unbelievable. And I got to talk to so many people and started studying the buying patterns at the convention. Remember, I was going to vendor showcase and I was like, oh, these are the swag that people actually want. And these are the right ways people are bringing them into the booth, because you had the pinball machine that year.
Yeah.
That was our first project that we worked on together.
Yeah, you were there as my guest.
Yeah.
But ended up helping sell our products.
And actually, we started some deals that are big connections of us now. Here I wasn't even working with them, and it was just like, oh, yeah, we should talk to this person. Let's sit down with this person and have a conversation at the Circle Bar. You know, it was fun.
I remember that one MSP that pulled us aside after we had been at the bar talking with people until they shut down the bar at IT Nation. This MSP saw us in the hallway and he's, I need to talk to you guys some more. Can I buy you breakfast? And we talked for a couple more hours.
Yeah,
I think
4 hours
to talk through some HR issues that he was having in his MSP at the time.
And after that, we just grabbed our suitcases and then went to the airport. We didn't even sleep. But it was really nice to help people. And I think that was when you said, and I remember so well, I was driving to work and you said, I think we should start a business together. And so I was like, what does that look like? And you started painting, bringing the software line of things and us being able to give it great care. And I pushed back because I was like, I like nonprofit. I like helping people. And Brian said, oh, this is helping people. It's small and medium businesses. It's the economy. This is a wonderful way to give back. And I thought about all the people that I met at IT Nation that wanted advice and wanted help. And I thought, oh, I think this is a good place. The other thing you said that won me over is there's so many things that we care about. DEI, going green, empathy, building a tech company with empathy at the core, no matter what, even if our profits don't skyrocket, because sure, we can do it just however and get whatever we want, but let's do it the right way, the way that we feel is right.
It's been pretty rewarding.
It has been. Now Gozynta was something we talked about, and we thought, oh, there's this conference called SaaSer. It was in San Francisco, and it really was a conference focused on software as a service products and starting them. It was great. You could meet investors if you already had a product, or it was talking about getting to wow really fast and putting together a staff of amazing people.
Product market fit, retaining talent, attracting talent.
KPIs and measuring.
KPIs was a big one.
Yeah, it was some great people, and it was fantastic. It was like a who's who in the SaaS world, and we were obviously baby entrepreneurs. We went to every session that we could, and it was fantastic. It was great. It was a great time. And then we had one more day in San Francisco, and Brian had said, we should start a business together. And that's why we were there, just discovering and exploring starting a business together. But it was after I said yes to the business.
We planned in an extra day to explore San Francisco. We like going on trips to places and just exploring cities anyway. So we planned this day to explore San Francisco, and it ended up being a beautiful, sunny day in San Francisco. And so we walked around, and we were walking all over the place, and we did stop in the Airbnb office and kind of looked around. And what was the other one?
Yeah, it was that game company that did Farmville.
Oh, Zynga.
Zynga, yeah.
We stopped in the Zynga offices and looked around the lobby and just wandered around. And then we ended up at Cupid's Span, which, if you don't know, there's this big sculpture of Cupid's bow and arrow. And this has been a great day, great week, really. I had already thought we were going to get engaged at some point, I'm sure, but I had no plans to do it on this trip. And so we found ourselves under Cupid's Span, like, all right, there's not going to be a better time than this.
You stopped and you were just staring at the ocean for a while, and you weren't talking. And I was like, are you okay? And you looked a little bit like this. You were a little wells up, and I was like, he really likes the ocean. And then you grabbed my hand and you sat down at a bench, and then you started vamping.
Yeah, it's like, all right, why don't we go sit over here for a little while? This is a nice place. Let's just sit here and let me figure out what's going on here. And there happened to be a little bush behind us. So I grabbed a little piece, and it had these little purple flowers on it. And so I grabbed a piece of that, and I twisted the vine into a ring. and then proposed, and she said yes, and we later got matching tattoos to represent the flower.
Yeah.
And then we continued our tour of San Francisco, and almost the very next place that we ended up happened to be this nondescript building with hallway upon hallway of these tiny little jewelry stores. It was like an office building, but it was like these tiny little
I didn't even
jewelry
know why we
stores.
went in there. And it was funny because we were talking about rings at the time. He's, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get a ring. I'm like, oh, it doesn't really matter at all. And then we walk in and it was just ring store after ring store. And I was like, I did not know this was here. Like, I did not set this up.
So we picked out the engagement ring.
Yeah. And yeah, we went to one place and they said that the ring, when you looked on at the side, looked like the bridge. And then we went home because of decision paralysis. But then we ordered the ring.
I ordered it and had it shipped to us.
Yeah, because we started looking other places and then we weren't finding it. And then you proposed again.
Oh, I forgot that part.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I opened the bedroom door and he was just on one knee with the ring. Yeah.
What am I like?
Yeah, just here
here you go.
You might as well do another. How many times?
Got to offer it up appropriately.
Yes, you know what? Maybe my ring needs to be cleaned and you can do that.
Yeah.
Again. Yeah, it was a good day.
Yeah.
And,
it's worked out.
It's worked.
We've managed.
Yeah. We've done it. But yeah, we started Gozynta. And we get often asked, where did Gozynta come from? The name Gozynta. We were on our way to IT Nation Share in Rhode Island, and we thought the whole 3.5-hour trip from Connecticut, we would be brainstorming ideas for our new company. But we didn't make it past the driveway before we found the winner.
So when I was a kid, my grandfather will fix things. And so once in a while I'd be around and he'd be working on something. And he would say, Brian, hand me the Gozynta. What's a Gozynta? It's the screw or the whatever that goes into here. It's the thing that goes into here. And we were founding the company on the Mobius product, which moves data from one system to another. And so it's taking your data from here and making it goes into there. And that's still a big part of what we do. So
those early days of Gozynta, we started and you and 2 other people from the MSP came and started working. And there wasn't enough money back then because we weren't selling Mobius Direct at that point. We were just surviving off of what ConnectWise paid us for those integrations at the time. So I continued my job at the university, and on my lunch breaks, there would be a company meeting from time to time, and I would get a room somewhere and try to be a part of it. But then sometimes somebody would come in the room and go, oh, sorry. It was a little awkward. But eventually the time came where Brian said, we need you here. And that was one of those moments where in the beginning I was talking about all of those different experiences that I was collecting and becoming really good at happened for this reason that felt like that moment right there, because I knew about marketing from Zippy's Place, the preschool program, and I knew about packaging, and I knew about positioning products and call to action, and I knew how to sell. I'd been selling. I'd done that. I did the sales calls and the cold calling, and I had done organizational management. I had done legal contracts. All of these jobs that I felt like, oh, I'll never use that again, were coming in as I did our finance, our HR, our handbook, our marketing, our sales, and our support, because what was left in the team was developers and myself. And it was figuring out the things I didn't know, like some Connecticut taxes that I had to do a whole bunch of, and figuring out some of that. But it worked really well. We came up with a strategy that started bringing people to us. And actually, we got more people on Tix than we had spending for a booth at IT Nation. We had gone to IT Nation that first year and we were promoting Tix, our text to ticket integration. And the booth alone was $40,000, and then all the employees getting there and hotels, and it's just expensive. We left
with 100 leads.
100 leads and 3 signups.
Maybe 3 signups.
$600 a year. So we made $1,800 if they stayed with us for a year. So not great. I started with Google Ads and I really studied how to make that work and figured out a strategy. We still use that today, even though our marketing team has really honed it down even more. But back then, all of a sudden, Brian came into my office and said, we have more signups now in this month you've been doing this than we did at IT Nation. We went from, I think we had 21 on Tixt and we had 100 in 6 months.
21 on Tixt with, I think it had been out for a year or two at that point.
Yeah. So it was
probably 2 years at that point.
It was great because I was just guessing. I hadn't done software sales. I hadn't done software marketing. I could sell a preschool program, but besides that, I hadn't done this. We did find a really great approach, and that kind of started things that we could bring other people on. I was also doing support at that time.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where more consulting came in, because one of the neat things in the early days was, and actually this kind of ended up biting us, because when people would come and talk to us about support, they would talk about other things. I was conversational, and I'd say, oh, what's going on? Why are you having a bad day? Or what's going on with this? And they tell me about, oh, this happened and we lost 4 customers, whatever. So I give some advice because I'm there and I like to help people. And then it seemed like they would call back with other questions. Oh yeah, Mobius isn't working here, but actually I wanted to talk to you about this.
At the time, Mobius was completely sold through ConnectWise. It was at a very low price point. We were only receiving $35 a month per subscription. The deal was that it was sold through ConnectWise, and ConnectWise did all of the support. ConnectWise would escalate support things to us when their support team couldn't handle it.
We put in something in our early day software that was a frown button if you had something wrong, and a happy button. And then the frown button would come to us, even though ConnectWise was supporting it. But if you hit the frown button, we would get something, and me, being very proactive, would email them right away and see. It turned out one of our clients realized that they could, if they hit the frown button, not only get support from us, but also get some business advice. And she was hitting that frown button all the time. So eventually I told her about that. She's like, oh no, I didn't realize that. But it was those kind of situations that made us realize people want to buy this directly from us. They want support from us, and they want help from us. They want advice from us.
The support that people were getting from ConnectWise was not enough. So we brought support in-house. We raised prices to support that, brought support in-house, and then later realized that people weren't getting the right start they needed because they weren't getting the product set up properly from the beginning. We ended up requiring onboarding for the product, so that way we can guide the customer through getting the system set up well so that they're going to have a success with it. And it's worked out really well.
Yeah, it has.
And now with that direct interaction with customers, we don't have ConnectWise in between us. We have a lot better connection with our customers. We can build relationships. We can provide them a better experience overall, which gets into more of that consulting stuff. We talk about software issues. Those software issues are supporting business issues, and one conversation leads to the other.
Yeah, so we did more and more consulting, and Tixt and Mobius have done well. They continue to truck along, and we continually are making Mobius better. Then the opportunity came up for us to get into consulting, and we purchased a company, Eureka Process, that was doing process consulting, and brought that in-house and realized that there was an untapped market in consulting, and it really comes from a holistic approach at consulting. And that sounds like buzzwords, but it's not. The problem with consulting is that it tends to be siloed. You get a consultant for marketing, you get a consultant for finances or for strategy or EOS or whatever. And it's focusing on one area. And really, our whole story has been a value-based business. We have been a value-based business from the first day. It's all been about values. And I do feel that is the way to lasting success. Sure, if you want to build a business really fast and sell it off, fine. If you don't want to have any values attached, whatever. But if you really want to have a lasting business with some real core that's going to sustain and something you can leave a legacy with, You have to have values at the center of it. I would argue any business should, but if you want to have something that you can be really proud of that's going to grow in a sustainable fashion, you need to have values at the core. But that's not just in, let's think about it at a leadership level. That needs to permeate every single thing. It needs to be all over your HR document. It needs to be soaked in your hiring process. It needs to be in your marketing, in your sales. It needs to be everywhere. And you can't do that if you go to a marketing coach over here, a sales coach over here, a consultant. You need to have a consulting team that helps you figure out your values, helps you learn how to verbalize them, and then helps the entire team to bring that to creation. So you're hiring for that value set. So your customers understand the value set. It has to be everywhere. And that is the difference. And that is what we started in the growth program. And that is something that no one else is doing.
It's something 10 years ago I would have scoffed at. It's vision statements and mission statements and values and spending time to hash over the wording of these things and really get to the core of it. It's certainly something I would have dismissed because let's get our stuff done. That's the important part. We got to deliver things to our customers. Right. And that is critical. Like, you can't let that up. But having those values spelled out is the core to your company culture. And if you don't consciously develop your company's culture, then a culture will develop organically, but it's not one that you can control. And it's probably going to end up being something that you're not going to like in the end. Right. If you can take your personal values and attach that to your company's values, make sure that the people who are working with you can buy into those values, and it is something that the whole company can buy into, it will make your company a lot more powerful.
I think everyone's worked in a company where there's been a toxic culture, especially when you're hiring. I hear about that all the time. One of my questions is, what gives you life about your work and what drains you? And the biggest answer for draining is a toxic culture, a culture that's not thought about, a culture that's not developed. It's a difference in having a mature business. It's not mature age wise. There's no age time that you can say, oh, now I'm a mature business. It's in thought about these things right from the get-go, because it was you and I sitting in an office thinking about some of these things early days, and weaving them into our handbook about certain policies, different holidays or different time off. We had 2-3 people. So many people are like, oh, I got to get to this size. But if you start early, and it doesn't matter what size you are, it's a bigger job. You might not have a diverse staff, and you might say, oh, it's not important now, I'll look at it later. No, it's now. You look at it now. You look at your values now. You start embracing what makes a company. Because let me tell you, we're nearing 20 people, and I look around, and this is what we dreamed about in that office. Yep. This is what we dreamed about. This is it. A place where people really like to work, and our employees love working here. Say it all the time and thank us for building this. And you can't get a greater compliment than that.
I've heard over and over again, what if I train my employees and they leave? And the answer, of course, is, what if you don't train them and they stay? You need to train up your staff because you need them to deliver the quality that you want your company to deliver. But the what if they leave part, the way to prevent them from leaving is to build a culture that they want to stay in.
In a culture of growth, that's one of the things that we've really focused on, is if we train somebody to get a greater job, that's a wonderful thing that we help make happen. And so we love to train our employees up. We do internal training.
It's critical.
It is critical. Right now, all of our consultants and future consultants are in a business strategy course based on the business model generation. We teach it internally. We have homework where we look at case studies, apply methods and models to other companies outside. It's important. This is the stuff that I was doing in my master's program for business, and everyone in our company is doing master's level work of analyzing companies and what we can do, because that is what it takes. And I would never look at it and say, wow, everyone in this class can now get a much better job. but everyone in that class is loving the class and so excited about what the next class is. So that's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing about the culture and just constantly growing and constantly learning. By training our staff in this way, we're offering the best service out there to MSPs. And that is something that's so critical to what we want to do, is provide the best service. We watch companies do things in ways that really were unethical, and they skyrocketed, lying, cheating, treating their employees like crap. And never did we ever consider going that way. It never was tempting, but sometimes it felt like, goodness, this person is really achieving a lot by not doing it the right way. We were always staying firm with what we did. Because of that, we built such a strong team. When a company starts, people are more worried about how long are you going to be around, which is, they should question that. But we've built such a culture and everyone knows who we are and what we represent, that now people are trying to convince us why they fit into this culture. And it's just so much stronger because people want to be a part of it. Whereas those competitors or those people out there that we looked at before, like, wow, they're getting a lot of money, I don't think they're seeing that now. They've fallen apart and people are more gravitating towards a company that really does care. And it's not political. It's just doing what's right for the world around us, leaving the world a little bit better than we found it. Most of our career, we have not been the highest paid in our company. We've tried to give as much as we possibly can back to our employees, because that is what was important, was changing the lives of our customers, changing the lives of our employees, and making the world a little better around us as well, and helping other companies in our space if they would like some advice on doing it this way. This is a way that we stand by and we love.
We've got a close-knit team now. We're making enough money to be comfortable, and we've got a great working environment. Like Heather said, we've got people coming to us because they want to work with us. So it makes recruiting easier. It just makes work more pleasant, and work's a big part of our lives. So let's make it a part of our life that doesn't suck.
She always thinks I'm too robotic. I was like made of AI before there was AI. What's wrong?
It's bright out here.
I know, we don't know this. Sun, the sun burns us precious. Okay,
Is this going in the thing?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.